conversation this morning is still on speech impediments, particular myth about speech impediments. For instance, that a child with speech impediments is not intelligent. That another one was
only meant for kids.
That's only meant for children. We also saw that speech therapy. You can have speech therapy as a child. You can have speech therapy as an adult. We also saw that there has to be a balance with the speech therapy classes. A child who's getting speech therapy, there has to be a balance here with regular classes and speech therapy classes. So we're actually going to be joined by a guest this morning, and I think it's very important for this kind of conversation that we actually have an expert break down the different explore and break down the different areas of speech impediments, what it means, what therapy can mean, the causes, the factors, essentially. So our guest this morning is Deji Asa. He'll be joining us to explore this conversation in depth. All right. So good morning, Deji Asa. I believe he's here with us.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm very well, thanks. And you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
You could join us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, so let us get into the conversation this morning. What is speech impediment?
Speech impediment or speech disorder can certainly be put to be when there is unintelligible or unpleasant and as well conspicuous defects in speech, in the words we offer. When it's so different to be noted, it deviates from the normal way we all hear and we all speak. It calls for special attention. So with this, if anyone alters such sound, words, or sentences, we can say it calls for attention and it can simply be put to the speech impediment or speech disorder.
Okay, so very quickly, what is the difference between speech disorder and language disorder?
Okay, speech disorder has to do with the words coming out itself, putting the words together, while language disorder has to do with understanding of the language itself. That's a difference between understanding what I'm saying and knowing how to pass it across. That's the major difference between speech and language disorder.
Okay. So very quickly, Asa, can you please break down the different speech disorders that we have and how do they really exist?
And how do we what?
How do they exist?
Oh, okay. The different speech disorder that we have, it varies, and it has to do, first of all, with how mild or how severe it is. If it's from birth or it developed over time, then if it's from injury or injury in the brain or disability. But the major types, we have, first of all, which is very common, that is stuttering, stammering. That can come in several forms as well. It can be prolongation, it can be, which is stretching a particular sound. When someone wants to pass across a message or say a sentence and it's been prolonged, then we have the blocks as well, which is when somebody pauses for quite some time before he can utter the next word. Then the last one under stuttering is repetition. This we easily attribute to stuttering. It's easily noticeable when a particular sound is being repeated all over time. We have, apart from stuttering, we have articulation disorder or sound disorder. This simply the inability to form certain sounds. Thus, the words itself are distorted. For example, if I can't produce the sound, which is the S, and I take it to be TH or any other sound. Okay, this is the articulation or sound disorder. Then we have this, which is a lot common. Also, the child apraxia of speech is having trouble making accurate movement when speaking. And this occurs majorly when the brain has difficulty coordinating movement. When the oral organs, which is the lips, the tongue, the entire mouth region, when it can't have the appropriate movement.
Hey, all right. Thank you very much for that. So now let's go into the causes and early, detection of speech impediments in a child. What causes speech impediments, and how can it be detected early? Oh, I think we've lost Deji Asa. We're going to call him back very quickly. But, we're actually getting some insights, and I'm hearing a lot of...
Asia, you called it?
Yes,
So, you see, so when you're communicating, you need to be able to make some movements, like when you're expressing yourself and all of that. Funny enough, I didn't know until today that it is actually a disorder, a type of disorder, when you're unable to, connect, when you're able to make those necessary movements, trying to explain yourself and express yourself. I didn't know that.
Expression is something that we think is just, it's okay. We have our guests back. Fortunately, we have our guests back. Glad to have you back, Deji Asa.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
All right. So before the line cuts, we're getting into causes and early detection of speech impediments in a child. So what are the causes of speech impediments, and how can it be detected early?
Okay. The causes, one of the, let me say, the base itself is family history. Okay. There might be cases of family history of this speech disorder, which we've had opportunity to work with a lot, and we discover the main cause of family history. Then we have muscle weaknesses. When the muscle of the mouth region is quite low, which we work around strengthening it over time, that can also cause speech impediment. We have the brain damage. Hello?
Yeah, we're listening. We're here.
All right, we have the brain damage.
Okay.
We have brain damage as well as the cause, and which the part of the brain that deals with speech itself in the left hemisphere. It's part of the brain that controls speech. So if there's a malfunctioning of the brain, then definitely the speech will be defective. Then we have other factors or causes like ASD, which is autism spectrum disorder, and ASD can come in several forms. It can come as the autism spectrum itself. It can come as child disease disorder or disorder, which is capacity developmental disorder, not otherwise specified. Then we have Rett syndrome, which affects only girls. Discover that the child might have speech at birth, altering words in sentences. Then suddenly there's regression, and the words start disappearing. Let's put it that way. So we have here which is autism, and hearing loss, and also called speech defect.
Okay.
All right. So let's talk about the treatments now. Aside from therapy, tell us, how can therapy help? And also, aside from therapy, are there other ways people with speech impediments can be treated?
All right. Thank you for that question. It's very important to know that therapy helps a lot.
Yes.
And I must really stress it that it helps a lot. But what helps most is when there is follow-up after the therapy session and acceptance of the speech impediment by the significant other people that are close, that are stakeholders in the child's life or the person or the adult. Now we have other treatments such as motor therapy, which focuses on improving motor strength and the way breast-brain control to aid frequency. We have the electronic aid, which also helps. So, and lastly, I want to mention target selection. Practicing specific sounds or words to familiarize themselves with particular speech patterns. When this is being exercised over time, even by the individual who is aware of speech defects, this can also work.
Okay, all right. Let's talk about the role of parents and educators, or educators and teachers in the lives of children, young people that are dealing with speech impediments. What role can they offer to aid this child? In what ways can they help? Aside from the professional aid of a speech therapist and whatnot, what role can a parent and an educator help to help a child, with the challenge of speech impediments?
All right. In the whole discussion about speech impediment, this is one of the most interesting parts.
Okay.
I am an advocate of parents getting involved in their child's life or even any close significant other in the life of the person that speech defects. The first thing is acceptance. There must be acceptance that this person has a speech delay or speech disorder, and from that we can take it off. Now, some people still find it, especially with parents that have children that are quite younger, maybe 2 years to 3 years, they still believe that the child will just grow over age, over time, and that happens a lot. So acceptance by the parents, one, then parents must let teachers and work hand in hand with teachers and other educators to know the kind of support that the therapy is given so that there can be a follow-up. They can ask the child to repeat what he said or communicate in another way by writing down or even drawing it. We do that also, even drawing it. Some children are so smart at drawing and communicate some basic needs. Now, we make them feel comfortable and anxiety is nullified. We reduce distractions and use clear-cut instructions. Parents are strongly advised to use clear-cut and simple instructions so that the children can actually process and try as much as possible take their time to produce the appropriate as well. The parents must learn to be patient and make the child comfortable. Then we have a very important one, which is really affecting children much more than ever before, which is a healthy social interaction. We've had talks to work with a particular child who had suffering, and we noticed that his academic was really dropping. We have to visit the school, visit the friends at school, talk to them, and we try to to bring back the confidence level of the child, which is very important.
Yeah.
We can imagine a smart child that usually raises his hand to talk in class, but because he is older enough and is aware of the speech impediment, he refuses to do such things as getting, going in classroom and so his academic start going down. So this is also very important as well as social interaction.
Okay.
Okay, go on.
All right. So before you joined, Adi and I were talking about, we were trying to debunk some myths about, speech impediments. And one of the myths we took was it's more prone to children, and it's less prone to adults. What's your take on this, really?
Okay. Well, adults want children too. Adults want children too.
Yeah.
I think what happens over time is a number of adults, they get to man over, or let me use the word, get to master how to use their words. It's going to be a different ballgame if the child has a stuttering, which is probably an innovation, and an adult. An adult is aware of the speech impediment, so try as much as possible to probably talk slowly and articulate the words and take the time to utter. But the child will not go just straight like that, and it's more obvious in children. However, we must say that with the rising cases of ASD, which is autism spectrum disorder and related disabilities, we have more speech defects nowadays than before. So the population of children on the spectrum, which is ASD and other related disabilities, keeps improving. And I can say that almost half of children with ASD, or at least 45%, according to last statistics, shows that most children on the spectrum, they have speech delay or disorder. So it's more obvious in children now than adults who have probably mastered it over time.
Okay, all right. So on a final note, right, let us, we've been discussing speech impediments. We've broken down the causes. We looked at treatments. We looked at the role of parents and educators in the lives of children that are dealing with speech impediment. Now, on a final note, what can you say to, parents who are dealing with children with speech impediments, and even adults, who have speech impediments, as it is affecting their low self-esteem and their confidence? What can you give a final note to our viewers this morning watching?
Okay. All right. First of all, I would like to tell everyone with speech disorder that there's always a better way around things. That's what I believe. There's always a better way around things. No matter the situation we are, no matter the level which we are, there's always something better ahead, and we cannot achieve that thing that is better ahead if we don't come in terms with what we have and keep moving. We are not the only ones in this. There are other people, and the best this person can do for him or her is to find a balance in all this, get to know people that affect you the way your speech is, and get to draw your strength from such people. Also, learn to master the peculiarity of your speech. Delay some people can overcome with breath control and be patient. Don't rush your words. Don't rush your words. You can take your time to articulate your words. Then we can also talk about, as for the children, the parents should also try as much as possible to help the children out, because they fall victim a lot because they usually can't control their environment. So the parents help in this to control the environment. Yes, another thing we can do is to learn to imitate sound. I had to meet adults that would say in front of the mirror and imitate the appropriate use of sound. They watch how their lips movement is. They start to do some deep movement. This is production of a sound like sound, which is the head. They try and produce themselves in front of the mirror, and some adults are able to maneuver this, and especially also.
Wow. Thank you very, very much, DJ Asa, for sharing this with us, your opinion on this. It's been a very insightful conversation, and to be honest, I've learned a whole lot from this conversation. Thank you so much for allowing us to fetch from your bountiful stream of knowledge on this topic. Thank you so much, and have yourself a wonderful day.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
Bye.
Very insightful conversation indeed. Again, on another note, DJ Asa is actually an applied behavioral therapist. So that's why obviously he was able to give us a lot of information and, and have an insightful conversation around speech impediments. Or as he puts it, another name for speech impediment is actually speech disorder. You know, so we learned a lot, and you know, I'm sure our viewers out there, you know, if you're dealing with a speech disorder, if you know someone who's dealing with a speech disorder, this interview would actually be available on YouTube again as well. So you have no worry, you'll be able to, you know, all the information that has been mentioned, all the information that's been given, you'll be able to get it again as soon as we're able to put it on our YouTube. Well, it was a very insightful conversation. I'm very glad that, you know, we're able to have him to, you know, break down a lot of things that we're discussing before, you know, we had him on the show. All right, so that is all we'll be doing on speech impediment this morning.